How's it going, everybody? It's Riley's Redzone here, back with another video, and in today's video, I will be picking who I think will win each Week 5 game. So we're over, the quarter mark of the season, so we're starting to get a little bit better idea of who the contenders are, who the top teams are, as well as maybe the bottom teams. But of course, the games already did start this week with the Thursday night football in a match that seemed um, just unmatched by the lack of anything really that happened on the offensive side of the ball. No touchdowns scored. Obviously, a lot happening with the Russell Wilson controversy of, now he's starting to get some heat from what happened in the game, missing potentially a game-winning throw. But that's what happened. I did take the Broncos, and the Colts ended up coming back. I really thought that was kept checking the score, and I thought the Broncos had it, but they didn't in the end. So the Colts ended up winning that. The Colts seem to be on and off, where they're winning some games you don't expect them to, but then they started the season with a few losses that seemed kind of conspicuous, and also Matt Ryan, even though he gets a win this week, is still miles ahead on. He's fumbled the most times this season, so it's like he's not doing great either. So anyways, moving on to the rest of the picks for this week. My picks are highlighted in green. So I'm picking the Packers over the Giants. The Packers are favored by 8 points. I do think that is, quite a bit, but I think that's totally valid. I think that, we'll see about the health of the quarterback situation in New York here. But I think the Packers just are one of the best teams right now, and I think they're going to keep going and get a victory in this one overseas. The Steelers finally turned to Kenny Pickett, and I've talked about it a few times before. I'm not a huge Kenny Pickett fan of his game. I do respect that he is a gamer out there. He's going to go out there and just sling the ball around, but I personally don't even see a huge showing this season from them. So I'm going to go with the Bills here. On paper, still one of the best teams. Going into the season, had a number one. They've had a few injuries, but I still think they got to be up there as one of the top teams. So I think Pickett, starts 0-2, 0-1 as a starter really in his career here. The Chargers, with no Keenan Allen is huge, but I think with Herbert still and that offense with Eckler and Williams, the way they're playing, I think they get it done there. I think the Browns, don't quite get this victory. I think the Jags bounce back a little bit here. Get a win against Houston, who, once again, I'm going to say, you've seen it in a few videos, I think Dameon Pierce might win the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I'm going to stand by that. But I think overall as a team, the Jaguars get a win. They've been surprisingly, I think that Doug Peterson's actually got them to a spot where they might get some unexpected wins. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars there. The Bears and the Vikings, I'm going to go with the Vikings. Them starting, I think that would make them 4-1, would just seem really weird considering how they've gotten their wins, and I don't think they're that good of a team, but they're getting it done, and which is backwards of what I'd say the Vikings have been over the last few seasons. It feels like normally they maybe haven't quite performed up to what their roster says, but then they end up losing games by really close standards. But over the last 2 weeks, the Vikings have pulled off some wins. My first upset pick of the week is the Lions. The Lions, are the leading offense somehow, but then they're also allowing the most points. I think they finally right the spell here. Bailey Zappi stepped in fine last week for the Patriots against the Dolphins, but I do think that the Lions finally pull out a win. They've been so close recently. I think they finally pull one up against the backup quarterback. And then the Seahawks Saints, I think, could be close. No Jameis. I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I think Geno has actually been performing really, really well, kind of exceeding expectations there. But I'm going to go with the Seahawks as another technically upset pick. I was very shocked to see that the Saints are somehow favored by 5 points in that matchup. The Dolphins and the Jets, I'm going to go with the Jets in an upset. I think Zach Wilson is actually, bouncing back a little bit here. And brings a spark to this team that they needed. And unfortunately for the Dolphins, Tua's health, we care about his health number one here. I think Teddy is a valid backup, but I think just the Dolphins are going to lose a little bit momentum. I'm also a little concerned if Waddle doesn't play. I've got him in a few fantasy lineups, and he's questionable, so he's not a guarantee. And with a backup quarterback along with that, I'm going to take an upset pick here with the Jets. A little bit of a surprise pick there potentially, but I think that that might make sense here. And the Bucks, I think, beat the Falcons. The Falcons, surprisingly, if they get a win last week. But I think that eventually they're gonna face good teams like the Bucks, and the Bucks will get it done. I think Brady will, do something this week. I think he'll be motivated. The Titans and Washington Commanders. I found that it's basically an even spread. I maybe found one where it was Titans minus 2.5. So in that case, this is an upset pick to go with the Commanders. These two teams have almost been on the same track where it's like Titans lost some games I didn't think they would, and then they won some games I didn't think they would, and the Commanders started out hot and they kind of slowed down a little bit. So I basically think this balances out a little bit, So I'm going to go with the Commanders here, although this is basically a pick'em game. 50-50. Niners, Panthers, I'm going to go with the Niners here. Panthers just, have been a little disappointing. I think Matt Rule will be on the hot seat here and is in jeopardy pretty soon of something maybe happening. Then we have the red hot Eagles versus the red Cardinals, but the Cardinals, I still think have some offensive power, but it's so hard to. These are two teams where they basically have opposite philosophies of how I'm going to be picking them, which is the Cardinals. I've already this year put trust in them, I believe, twice to maybe make an upset, and they haven't made it happen. But I still, every week, think that it could happen because they can put enough points on the board offensively to make something happen with an upset. It just hasn't happened yet. So for that reason, I'm not really picking them again until I see them prove that. And the Eagles, the same thing where I don't think they're going to sustain this level of, I think they're going to win the division, but I didn't think they'd be going undefeated this long, and I don't think it's going to last forever. I just can't pick against them right now. So I'm basically making a safe choice, but I will say that's like an almost upset of the week is right here with the Cardinals and the Eagles. Cowboys, Rams, two teams that, I think the Cowboys have been outperforming a little bit, especially with backup quarterbacks, so credit to them. And the Rams have been underperforming a little bit. For that reason, I'm going to say things balance out. I'm going to pick the Rams, although I got to give credit to the Cowboys. They've been doing really well this year. And the Cowboys, have been outperforming a team like the Rams that have not been performing as well. So I think the Rams maybe bounce back at some point here. They have to. Bengals, Ravens, a big matchup. I think this could be really close. That's why I didn't put something crazy in the thumbnail rather than loss for the Bengals, because I think this game is actually very close. It's another one I would consider an almost upset. I think this one comes down to like a field goal. I still think that the Ravens have an absolutely stacked roster, and Lamar is performing out of his mind right now. He has to be one of the top, if not the top MVP contender right now. I mean, Jalen Hurts is up there, and then obviously a guy like Josh Allen or Justin Herbert might make his way back into the mix, but I have to say Lamar Jackson is performing at a very high level. And so I think he gets them a win there. And the Raiders, Chiefs, the Raiders have been underperforming. They finally get that win, but I got to go with the Chiefs here. That's a safe pick. So those are my picks for this week. Last week was a great bounce back week. We're starting to get back on the better side. But these are my choices for this week. I hope you enjoy the weekend and all the football to come. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.